All right. Well, good day, everyone. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to sit with us here today. Today, we embark our April webinar. PrimePay has offered a monthly webinar to our benefit broker partners now for the last 10 years, and we are thrilled to be able to have you aboard here today for our topic and title of today's webinar, which is Embracing Compliance, with a focus on small and large group case studies. Hello, everyone. My name is Steve Jackson. I'm the Senior Vice President of Broker Concierge here at PrimePay. And again, I'm thrilled. I see a lot of familiar names and a lot of new names here that are joining us today. So just briefly, we have performed these webinars over this last decade, really focused on you. What are ways that we can drive agency growth? What are ways that we can equip you with information, content, sales strategies, technical expertise that you can immediately take, and hopefully we can kind of digest that, kind of break it down into practical application so that you can immediately and effectively communicate those ideas, those strategies, that piece of legislative guidance immediately to your clients. So today we are focused on embracing compliance, and this particular webinar today is actually part 2 in our series of 2, and the first one was last month in the month of March, and it was on embracing compliance and embracing it to facilitate agency growth. And so we're going to get into that here and do a brief review. But before I do want to cover some of the logistics here today. For the number of attendees that we have on, we do mute everyone's lines, but we still want to hear from you, okay? So if you have a specific question that you would like addressed, you can go into the GoToMeeting question box, go into that question box, type it in, and I will try to answer it during the webinar, or we will certainly get back to you once the webinar is complete. All right, and so one of the top questions that we do receive is, are you recording the webinar? The answer is yes, we do record it. We post all of our webinars on our Broker Concierge YouTube channel. And one way to get first dibs on the post would be for you to go into that channel, go into our Broker Concierge channel, and subscribe to our feed, okay? And as soon as we post that, you will get a notice, okay? So that's one way at least to do that. We also will be providing a follow-up email once the webinar is concluded, and that will also provide a link to the recording as well. Another question that we get too is, hey, can I get a copy of the slide deck of the presentation? So the answer is, hey, if you are a Broker Concierge partner, we provide all of the slide decks, these presentations, to our partners, and we put that inside of our broker portal that you have access to, and you can access that all day long as needed. As you're talking with clients, many of our brokers use many of our decks just for presentations and so forth, and so you're absolutely able to do so. If you don't know about Broker Concierge, or say, well, I want a copy of these decks, at the end of our webinar today, I'll provide a little more information on where you can go, who can you talk to in regard to Broker Concierge. All right, I think that'll do it for the logistics here, at least for today. So we started this particular webinar back in March, and it was centered around embracing compliance, and the title was to facilitate agency growth. We've found that there are strategies that agencies are beginning to employ and explore almost more and more in trying to get outside of that out of the benefit strategy conversation solely, and really trying to expand beyond that into a business conversation. And so you guys have heard me say before, as an agency, as a producer, a benefits broker, consultant, you're an expert, right, in benefits, or maybe something else, right, depending on your particular niche that you may have. But let's just say it's in benefits. And when you think about benefits, benefits still plays, it's an important role for employers, and certainly the offering and the package that is offered to their employees. But when you look at things, the employee benefits space, it accounts for about 11% of the total cost of an employer. there are still so many other business issues and challenges that are affecting that business owner and the decisions that they make as it relates to the benefits decision. So it's imperative that you actually embrace other forms of discussion. That way you get to the business discussion, really the heart of the matter, okay, with these owners, with these key stakeholders of the company. And so we started this two-part series first focused on, okay, let's get a framework, a foundation here of embracing compliance, thinking about agency growth. How can you best do that? And I broke it down into two different areas. One was specific business issues that an employer is faced with. And secondarily, I put a challenge out there to you. I said, you need to embrace it, okay? And so I threw out a little challenge out there alongside of it. So the first one here is business issues. And I'm not going to go verbatim what I went over last month, but I think it behooves us as we begin to look at some case studies. I think that this discussion will, as a refresher, will lend itself well to, the results of where that case study specifically went, okay? So in these business issues, I talked about staying current, okay? And in staying current, I mean, you need to, when you think about you yourself, how do you stay current? Is it Google alerts? Is it partners? I mean, such as a Prime Pay or an ERISA attorney? Is it, HR professionals? I mean, how do you stay current? For you to stay on board and on top of everything, I mean, it's a big challenge, right? So I want you to think about it from an employer standpoint. Most employers did not go to, to grad school or undergrad for HR or for government regulations and how to comply with ERISA or other areas. So they're in need. There is a dearth. They need to have information at their disposal to be able to stay current. And we think that, or we see that many business issues arise from them not staying on top of things. The next big area is controlling cost. When you look at benefits cost, it is a big piece of the overall cost factor of doing business, but it's still a relative small piece, to be quite honest. In the overall scheme of things, based on what an employer is trying to do day in and day out, the decision to purchase that particular health plan and to share that cost to some degree with the employees pales in comparison a lot of times to the plant and equipment and building that they just purchased, or the ability for them to produce their special widgets, in a different area or in a different way, right? Controlling cost goes well beyond just the benefits conversation. So we talked a lot about different types of, business issues and how controlling cost can impact outside of benefits. Timeliness and forgetfulness, and I'll tie in accuracy, tracking, and reporting. I'll put those two together here right now. That kind of tied around efficiencies, right? Employers, due to regulations and requirements and these administrative tasks, they're bogged down with, the integration side. I may be entering that information into payroll, or I may be entering that information into a benefit administration system, but none of that is going to a carrier, or none of that is going to an ACA tool so I can handle my reporting, for ACA, or it's not, I missed the time period when I should have sent that information on COBRA, to that particular employee. So efficiencies, again, goes well beyond benefits. We'll talk a little bit about, again, new hire, processes and onboarding. Those aspects, I think, really come into play here. So efficiencies is another big area. And then lastly, it's centered around kind of mitigating compliance risk. I think so many times, and I think, many of you, we've heard from you guys, it is, many of your clients think that they are in compliance, and they may debate you, to the 11th hour in regard to, no, I'm fine. Don't worry about it. I'm handling it correctly. But there are so many issues and opportunities for you to bring up certain areas of a company where they are probably out of compliance. And it's not to give them the, woo, the wow, let's wow them with our knowledge and really put them on a watch. Maybe they are not going to like hearing this information. But that's a key business issue. They don't know what they don't know many a time. So we focused on that here last month. So then I brought out to you kind of a challenge, right? So embrace it. Don't run from the opportunity to have a discussion, certainly about compliance or other business related types of issues or challenges that prospect or your client may be facing, but embrace it. And I focused it again based on those business issues and put it here. So the first was, in response to the business issue of kind of staying current, was initiate and communicate compliance strategies. You do have to ask the tougher questions. So that's something that you have to initiate. Occasionally your clients may come to you and say, well, I heard about this. Can you help me with that? These are things that you're going to have to initiate. And we are seeing audits. They do occur. So that does have to be initiated. But I also challenged you to think about developing a communication strategy, where you're engaging your clients and prospects maybe more consistently on important topics, okay? And so we talked a little bit about that challenge. The next, as it's centered around controlling cost, is how you can embrace, in this discussion, a way to impact your client's bottom line. In thinking beyond benefits, I brought up an example of an opportunity to control some cost, and that was in new hiring practices. And I brought up a tax credit, which is called the Work Opportunity Tax Credit, or WOTC, as it's somewhat sometimes called. And that new hiring credit that can be applied to many new hires. It is a little arduous to a degree administratively sometimes for an employer to go through the process. But if there's ways to be able to integrate and make that more seamless, an employer can save thousands of dollars per new hire. So we just went over, a few ideas, but I kind of highlighted that as an example of where your discussion could go outside of benefits that can provide a great impact to your employer, okay, to your clients. The next was state the obvious challenges to overcome, okay? And that was centered around the business issue of timeliness and forgetfulness. And, it's asking deeper questions away from just your health insurance benefit in regard to, hey, how do you maintain minimum wage compliance? How do you maintain overtime wage compliance? How do you monitor COBRA record keeping? Because we talked about, the ability for, keeping to deadlines and specific time periods for COBRA that are very consistently not met by many employers. Another way too is, asking an employer, do you inform all of the responsible parties given there's a particular change? So just because you had a life event, did that occur in payroll? Did it occur just in benefits? Did that affect wages? The benefit election? Who do we need to tell? Does that need to go to an FSA administrator? Does it need to just reside in payroll? So again, it's kind of focusing on, hey, how do you handle these particular issues, that you're being faced with here today? And next was where I challenged you was, think about how you can drive quick, effective tools and responses to really be able to save the day, okay? You've got to find ways. Brokers are adapting certainly technology at a very rapid pace. This seems like a very wonderful opportunity for brokers to be able to tie not only technology and a core of benefits, which is where your expertise lies, but it also allows it to integrate or connect with, payroll, to TPA services, cafeteria plans, COBRA administration, carrier. There's a lot of great opportunities there where you truly can save the day, but you just can't think about COBRA. You need to think about timekeeping solutions. How are your employers managing the hourly rate? How are they managing the hourly wages, rather, the timekeeping aspects? How are they measuring their variable hour employees? for enrollment and eligibility purposes. So you really have an opportunity, if you embrace this specific challenge, a way to be able to save the day and really become a hero. Because really, when you look at many of the market disruptors out there today, or that have come before us, right, over the last couple of years, they have incorporated technology and have created more sound processes into their daily regimen. And guess what? The employer has been demanding it. So it's a way to kind of become a hero there. And then lastly, find the treasure by uncovering compliance shortcomings. And I had a picture of a tool chest, treasure chest there. And I said, kind of discover. There's so much that can be discovered that are issues that are underlying business issues with that employer that you have a chance as a trusted advisor to actually uncover and actually drive solutions specific to those business issues. So as we wrapped up kind of that challenge, again, the real goal here is not to have this conversation and for all these business issues to be unearthed, and then you don't have an opportunity to be able to resolve those particular business issues. That's not the point. We need to find ways, certainly, for you to create additional agency assets, because I think your goal, okay, your goal is certainly to increase revenue, lower cost, right? No different than probably any of your employers, clients that you work with. But if you can be in a better position to understand the issues and then meet those employer demands, that will absolutely enable you to increase your client retention, which is huge. I just saw another article coming out here again talking about our commissions going to be broker commissions. It's kind of in the discussion again. I mean, what's happening here? So the importance of keeping your clients and adding solutions to your clients is more meaningful today than ever. So increasing client retention is huge. And then clearly, from a prospecting basis, but even with your existing client base, you will be able to create new revenue streams, because with these business conversations, you will unearth so much more opportunities. So that leads us then into today's agenda. And I actually have 2 case studies here for you today. I know, just get up off your chairs. I normally have like 8, right? And it takes me like 2 hours to go through it. Not today. Not today. We have 2 case studies. I think this will be all that is needed, okay? And as you look at the picture here, good choice and bad choice. So the important thing as we look at a case study, or as we think about embracing compliance, that we want to model good behavior, good choices, right? We want to model success. And, as you look at, just for this conversation today, if you were to continue to go out to your clients and specifically hone in on the conversation about benefits with that prospect or with that client, and you are not truly branching out into the overall business decision, that's really the bad choice, right? You're going to win some business. You have won business with that strategy, right? But that's not where employers, where their demands are, here right now. And so we want to kind of stay focused on that good choice. So I had pulled a couple of case studies that enabled us here at PrimePay to be able to work with a benefit broker partner and be able to drive a complete strategy here. And so we want to model good choices. And so the first case study is going to be based, I have 2 case studies. One is a small group and the other is a large group, okay? And so we're going to go here into our small group case study. So this one is small, I wasn't going to go any larger than 20 employees. I wanted to focus on an employer here with employer size of 13 employees. And I did that because as I looked at a lot of the key market disruptors here over the last couple of years, and even if you look at the PEO market, why small employers are so attracted to certainly a PEO, but certainly to some of those other vendors, providers that are including technology and HR and benefits all in one. Small employers are really attracted to it. probably more than larger. It's needed for larger employers. But these small employers are demanding greater flow of data and integration. Why? Because look at that first bullet. The first bullet is, in this first example, this owner that we're speaking about with this group, they, as he put it, chief cook and bottle washer. Okay, he did it all. He did not have an HR manager. He was hiring. They actually have been hiring in a pretty fast clip. Kind of with their growth, and so he needs help. He builds widgets, right? That's where his passion is. It's his business. And so what he decided to do, and just our initial call, and I'm going to go into our discovery call here in just a second, discovery meeting rather, but just kind of on the face, this is what triggered that discovery call. He needed to focus on his passion, his business. And so he joined a PEO, a professional employer organization. And as you know, a PEO provides a myriad of different benefits from HR. It's a co-employment type of a relationship generally. And the PEO is going to take on a lot of responsibilities in regard to HR and HR administration and payroll. And it goes all the way to workers' comp, to health benefits, to ancillary voluntary benefits, to 401k plans, and all of those kind of things. So a very complete package, right? But there were some various business issues that surfaced. He felt that he was kind of stuck anyway in regard to the health benefits. The PEO, not a bad PEO, but it didn't have the kind of the breadth of benefit selection, if you will, that he felt was important to himself, but also to his employees. And so as we looked at this original situation, the group didn't have a broker, okay, due to the relationship with the PEO. So creating a new benefits broker relationship was going to be pretty critical. But there were a couple key issues to be resolved, and then we'll go into the discovery. And that was just service issues. And they also were paying a lot of money for the PEO service, but they were not using all of the services that had been rolled out or that were part of really the cost of that PEO. And so we needed to kind of fine tune that. So knowing that bit of information, we did reach out actually to one of our benefit broker partners to bring them into the conversation, and they joined us here in regard to this discovery meeting. And so some additional things that we found out here in regard to the meeting, and you'll notice here that it's less, there's less discussion here about the benefit side of the aisle. Very much more of a business conversation. We found out pretty deeply and passionately by the owner. The company is growing, but fast, too fast. And they actually told us that they expect to double in about a year. Okay, wow. All right. Well, with that's going to carry, if you get above 20 employees, we now have other types of regulations that are going to come into play, based on you being over 20 lives. But nonetheless, okay, you're growing. So that means you need to find labor, right? So there needs to be this automation in the hiring and onboarding process. He said we cannot get bogged down with being able to, in this case, they were hiring some veterans and certainly other employees, but there's got to be ways to be able to bring them, find them, bring them on board so that they're, it flows easily directly into our payroll once we hire them. But he did also recognize, the labor market is tight. So providing the group benefits are very important. Cost is as well, very important. They were certainly paying money out of the, as part of the PEO. I mean, part of that, certainly the health insurance premium. So, they're going to continue to pay that. What he was worried about, though, is by moving outside of a PEO, he's worried about what he doesn't know. I don't know about all the specific compliance items that I need to be concerned about. And so I need to be ensured, be comforted, that as I make this change, that I'm going to have the ability to be able to capture, that specific information or be able to fulfill that requirement and when I need to fulfill it. He was concerned about deductions and the effectiveness of those dates, which, as you're hiring new employees, you're going through enrollments and new elections, and even whether it be turnover there as well, That was not a big issue at the moment for this company, but certainly on the new hiring side, he wanted to make sure that as they grew, that it was better automated, that we were not having to go into one system to change one thing and go into another to change another particular item, a data point. All right. And then lastly, which I found kind of interesting, was he was concerned about building wealth for both himself and the employees. So, as a business owner, he's in business, one, because he's passionate about his widgets, right? But he's also passionate about building wealth, for his family, but he was also very passionate about that for his employees. And so, it's very important that our comprehensive solution would come back with ways for them to be able to accommodate that, not only for himself, but for his employees. So as we go into the results of this particular case study with the 13 employees, as we met with our broker partner to present this, we presented a solution where we then fine-tuned the needs. We looked at all the different types of services that the PEO offered. We knocked out of those. Well, we looked at those to see, well, maybe was he missing something that he should have, or my word, these 10 things are not even needed. And so we removed the unnecessary solutions that were encumbered by the PEO. So really driving a customized proposal then, and now, it'll enable him to buy or purchase what they need for the company. Benefits was not the number one priority of this, but based on the comment and discussion in regard to building wealth, building opportunity there, we introduced with the broker, we introduced a CDHP plan, a qualified high deductible health plan, in which we coordinated that then with HSA, and which he loved, because it really enabled him to not only kind of park some money away for the future for medical types of expenses, but he also was going to put some dollars into the employees' HSAs so that they could begin building something, and whether they needed to utilize that today or be able to save it and actually capture that balance in the future in retirement. He loved the fact that he could actually build, or the employees could build some wealth in that area. We also were able to instantly add all the additional voluntary benefits that the PEO was matching. And so here in one fell swoop, the broker was really able to do all of that and all make it very comparable from a price point to what the PEO was offering, but to actually tailor it to what they were looking for. Integrated solutions were also very imperative. Very imperative. He was planning on hiring about doubling the number of employees here over the next year. Okay, so he also mentioned that he did want to hire some veterans, and so that's a perfect opportunity actually for the work opportunity tax credit because it applies to veterans who are getting into the workforce. And so under our system, we have actually a payroll system that connects an applicant tracking system, applies the WOTC tax credit, onboarding, and time and attendance all in one, so that it flows, okay, directly from when that candidate, or when a person is a candidate, all the way to when they are hired, and then input it into time and attendance and certainly the payroll system. The broker was able to deliver. We specifically looked for a broker that valued that technology piece, and they brought together a benefit admin system, and it enabled us to be able to integrate pieces and parts of our solutions to tie directly into benefit administration. Health savings accounts and deductions, that's all from an HSA standpoint. We're able to tailor deduction management directly from payroll and ben admin through the health savings account process. And we introduced a safe harbor 401k. Now, these were not all solutions that the broker provided, right? I mean, it's the ability. I mean, if one side of the aisle is a PEO, a professional employer organization, the other side is a an ASO, an administrative service organization, I mean, we were able to adapt with the broker. We were each able to fill in the gaps based on the certain business issues that the client needed. Compliance solutions. We talked a lot about, okay, you have employees that are contributing toward those premiums. How are you having those paid? Is it set up on a pre-tax basis? You realize that once you leave this PEO, you're going to need to create a premium-only plan document that's going to reflect the benefits that you offer and how you're funding that. ERISA documents are going to be very important. You're sponsoring an employer-sponsored plan. And we also introduced advisory services. And this was partly the broker and also PrimePay, but it enabled us to be able to deliver to this small employer the ability to access and gain HR advice without maybe having the consultant, having a true HR consultant there. The broker also really committed to performing a little more activity there to assist and support his efforts, for the future. So as we look at overall savings, the overall ROI probably hasn't been determined here yet. We were able to deliver a comparable price point for the benefits. Maybe a little bit of savings there, but nothing strong to report. We were able to save them about $6,300 in annual savings for administrative and compliance services. But what we were able to do is really provide that comprehensive solution, and it speaks so much to these small employers really wanting to have technology and automation as part of their overall practice. Okay. All right. So that's the small employer. So we're going to look now at the large employer, and what I want you to think about here is the process, like the steps that you take to gather this information, to have the business conversation should stay relatively the same, right? Meaning you're going to take the same types of steps to really formulate what the overall business issues are, and in order for you to be able to deliver a comprehensive strategy. Now, working with a large group, it may take a little more time to gather that information just based on all of the specific aspects that that company is involved with. But as you look at this next case study, you'll notice that we kind of pursued the similar process. Okay, but ultimately we're still trying to drive that similar solution set where we're providing a comprehensive, kind of customized, tailored solution to the client. So case study number 2. And case study number 2 was a food manufacturer, distributor. So I wanted to list that because I felt it was important for you to get a good understanding, kind of, right? It instantly put some thoughts in your mind as to what this company is about. And this particular group had 125 employees. Now, this actually was with an existing broker partner of ours, okay? And but the broker wasn't necessarily involved with all the other aspects to what the employer was using. In fact, the broker was very concentrated on, on the benefits side of the aisle, which they did very well for the employer. But as we looked at as the employer kind of started to speak to the broker, and the broker was getting a sense of, I need to start really coming back at them with some additional comprehensive solutions, or, I'm kind of fearful here, of this particular group, and maybe I'm going to lose them. I don't know. And so here was kind of what was the genesis here of what got us to our discovery call. So they were utilizing a non-PEO. So why I said it that way was just to reflect that, it wasn't part of a PEO, but they had all of these kind of disparate systems, platforms that they were using, a separate payroll vendor. They had a benefit administration, system, HR, specific HR module type of a system, some tax compliance, things like that. But they were all kind of separate. They were all, call them just, standalone types of systems. And so they really came to us because through their growth and some turnover certainly that they have, they had a lot of ongoing data integration challenges. And I bet that as you guys are thinking here, you're thinking of some existing clients, right? As you think about that small group example and now this large group, you're thinking about, oh gosh, I just had this conversation the other day, right? Data integration challenges are huge. And this particular client said, we're tasked with audit controls to correct mistakes. So they literally were building monthly internal audit controls just to ensure that no mistakes were being made, or, if mistakes were made, making those changes. And instead of having the systems do the work, they were really doing the work themselves. So that was kind of the genesis that kind of got the meeting going. And then we had our discovery meeting. All right. And so let's take a look at some of the key bullets here. So what we found was there was no deep technology needs. And what I'm stating there is that the technology itself was fine. I mean, they liked these specific platforms. It was really the duplication, the non-integration of that technology that was making it such that they absolutely needed to start making some changes. You'll notice here as I talk about, their employee base, there was this need for seamless integrated services for time and attendance specifically because they had a very large hourly workforce. We had there's a lot of, minimum wage, overtime, specific requirements that needed to be discussed. And they did not have an integrated system for time and attendance even, and which if you guys know anything about the time and attendance, that's actually going to cause a lot of issues if you don't have it tied, at least directly into payroll. Retention was a key focus. They had, through this broker, they had very good benefits. Benefits were fine, in that respect. But they still were losing, they had high turnover. And so COBRA issues abound. And if you can think about, non-integrated systems, somebody's going to have to be in the know very, very much there at the company in order to be able to carry out the specific COBRA administration, requirements on a regular basis, certainly with a group like this. The key decision makers and owner was also really told us about how they were looking to expand into other markets, but really felt that how they were administratively handling things, it actually was creating a bottleneck, which was kind of hurting their chances to really expand when they wanted to try to expand. And so they, which that's great news to the broker, right? To us, looking to expand, fantastic. Hopefully we can go from 125 employees, so on and so forth. So that's some great news. And there was great discussion just around challenges to expect in relation to how they're going to expand in other markets, whether it's in-state or out-of-state or other types of industries. They're outside of, just food manufacturing, but into other, other types of food manufacturing, whatever that may be. So it was very heavy production focused workforce, a large Spanish speaking population. When you think about 125 employees, food manufacturing, production focused workforce. I'm also thinking about ACA, the Affordable Care Act, the reporting requirements specifically. I think about employee classification. And when we dug a little deeper into that, it needed to expand just beyond, hey, how are you handling your ACA reporting requirements and forms 1095? We needed to talk about employee classification, and we quickly found that it was all over the map, that they were coding employees as as part-time when it should have been variable hour or should have been full-time employees, something of that nature. And we got in a really great conversation. Actually, just recently we heard of a recent audit from the IRS that did provide an audit on an employer specific to employee classification. So we know that things like that are actually occurring out there. It's a great conversation to clear up. It kind of opens up a little uneasiness to a degree from an employer. They're looking at you with wide eyes, right? But having that conversation actually is very good. The other aspect, or the last aspect here for today, just as in this example, was that they were concerned as well about workers' comp. Now, as all of you know, before I go into this, if you're a broker concierge partner and if workers' comp is a core product of your agency, we will not compete with you. All right. So that is in our agreement, and so you always have that opportunity to be able to drive that workers' comp policy as needed. Please do. Okay. In this particular situation, the broker did not provide workers' compensation insurance, and so we had an opportunity to certainly talk more about it. But one of their key things was, at policy year end, our audits are killing us. It's financially draining. Somehow we have employee classification wrong. We have the compensation, wages and compensation, payroll numbers wrong. And so when we finish the year and we've had new hires and we've had turnover, it's kind of a mess when they complete our audit, and we end up owing quite a bit, each year. We've got to find a way to remedy that. All right. So this wasn't, certainly the entirety of the discussion, but some of the key issues in our discovery. And again, as you look at many of those, you notice that yes, we are focused a little bit on benefits. We have to be. It is a key part in the decision making and structure, but there was so much more that we were able to kind of dive into to really find what those specific business issues were. So as we look at results, this was really a great opportunity for our broker partner to actually fill in some of the gaps that his agency was really looking to fill. And so one of those was in the area of I'll focus on employee engagement, participation, and education. This was a workforce, right? So heavy production workforce, Spanish speaking. They knew that they had to do more as it relates to that employee engagement side. It was an area where he could truly help the employer in really communicating and driving engagement on the benefit side, because as I showed too, retention was kind of a big deal. So we really came, when we did our final presentation, we really talked about, how the broker could actually drive that additional engagement and participation, in education. Another big area that this broker also had decided to go ahead and push forward with and adopt is a Ben admin platform. And so just take one of our, brand name platforms, that are out there. They adopted one of those, and it enabled then so much more to happen, right? And allowed the broker now to be able to have greater access, transparency into the system for the client. They have greater information at their disposal to help with some key compliance items, that are going to occur. It also enabled then the partner, in this case here with PrimePay, to be able to drive more of an integrated solution platform. Okay, and so you look at from applicant, I've already mentioned this, with applicant tracking systems, onboarding, time and attendance, and payroll. Folks, I can't make it a bigger deal. Employers having a more integrated, seamless structure from taking a candidate that's out there today, getting them onboarded into a time and attendance system to be then processed into payroll is a big deal. And it has been a key employer demand that has been out there here for some time. And again, why many market disruptors have been doing so well. And so that was key. We reduced the issue of the hiring side of things. Again, not immediately, but here over time, we've been able to completely capture that information so that there's no duplication, so that we have removed their internal audits that go on. As you guys know as well, our payroll is integrated with our ACA solution. And so listen, enter it, process it in payroll, and it's put into ACA. And so with the broker, we have a gap though here. We needed to have the benefit information to be put into ACA. And so the broker stepped up and said, well, look, since I have the Ben admin platform, I have some access here, I can actually help drive a lot of that data. that would be needed for ACA, for you. So again, in one fell swoop, as kind of a partnership, we were really able to fill that specific business issue. And then to follow up there, COBRA and FSA, we were able to actually incorporate those particular compliance and pre-tax benefit solutions. We also had connected that to the broker's Ben admin. So not everything is connected, not everything needs to be connected, but we were able to take key technology platforms and solutions and really accommodate most of the business issues that they had and remove a lot of the labor that they had in the audits, the internal audit controls. And then lastly, we did provide a pay-as-you-go workers' compensation, which really enabled them to pay that premium as they go based on the number of employees, the wages, the employee classification. It doesn't remove the audit. You still have the audit, but it's going to remove much more so that financial aspect in an audit at the end of a year. So they were very pleased that they could move into a scenario such as that. One of the key questions, and I'm just throwing this out there because it was a question that this client, really was asking, look, to the broker, you do benefits really well, and here you're bringing in other partners and vendors to facilitate some of these other things. A key question that they asked was, tell us about the service level of your ASO model, this particular model that you're bringing to us, because we're very concerned, or we need to know kind of how that service level is going to accommodate all these various solutions. So don't have time today to really get into that aspect, but it's something that as you are thinking about, as you brace the business strategy conversation, you're going to be needing to introduce other trusted providers and vendors and experts into the fold. And you really need to think about the service level of your particular model. So something to think about, because that question will indeed come up. So as you look at those two examples, I mean, I realize that I can't go into every single nuts and bolts and really drill down, here's the exact this and that was done. But I think you get my point in the picture, is that, what Reed Smith had said, and I've used this quote here, here for a while here now, but it just fits so well with this particular topic in this series here today. Employers need a consultant committed to driving sustainable change and ensuring their benefit strategy is aligned with their business strategy. So I want you to think about really yourself, your agency. Think about the type of case studies that you can build, right? Create your own case studies. And when you do that, you're going to need to add additional assets to your agency. So think like this. You're the 5-star consultant, right? You're the trusted advisor. You're the BOR, broker of record on the medical and ancillary offerings. You, more than really anyone, has the ability to not only uncover the business issues, but combat those business issues. It enables you to actually add additional assets to your agency to deliver more comprehensive solutions that kind of meet those specific issues. So what you have to do is, when you go into part of this whole embracing compliance kind of discussion, is really for you, or to enable you to identify the key business challenges. And as you're talking to that business owner, okay, it will better enable you to drive a stronger benefit program, okay? Because if you're having that business conversation, I mean, think about a client of yours that you've had maybe for a number of years, and maybe you're a little fed up with them a little bit because they're not adopting what you have been recommending, right, over the last 3 years. They're not doing it. They're not buying it. You're the broker of record. You have that business, but they're not really doing what you're talking, what you're recommending to them. Well, what if you had that greater business conversation? I would bet that client of yours is dealing with other specific issues that are totally blocking those recommendations that you're making. So if you have a better understanding of those business issues, you can align your benefit decisions differently, right? And maybe your recommendations could actually come into play based on that. You also, as you identify the key business challenges of these employers, you do need to think about your agency. What additional assets do I need to build, buy, partner with that is going to help me attack those specific challenges that they're facing? So partner affiliations are going to be part of it, but it's also going to be, there's going to be additional opportunities where you might be able to build it within your own specific agency. Again, I think from a cost savings, if you go in year after year with the same premise of helping a client reduce their overall cost to health insurance, or to reduce the increase of the cost of insurance, you're just, that's the tip of the iceberg. The rest of the cost savings, most employers are looking to drive their bottom line, and benefits is one of those. That's a piece of it. So you need to understand all of those different variables and how you might be able to add additional assets to your agency to effectively drive greater cost savings, overall cost savings for the employer. The last thing is, listen, I talked about an ASO, Administrative Service Organization. It really enables you, if you're identifying the key business challenges, you are then going to be able to focus on solutions that are directly tied and connected to those issues. Very important. Sales 101, it's what you focus on. What are those specific challenges that you're being faced with? And you hope then that you've got those solutions, subset of solutions that are going to ultimately remove those challenges. But many of these are business issues that you're not directly tied to. You've not adopted that technology. You don't do payroll administration, so you're going to need to look at additional partnerships, what have you, to move in that direction. So I really want you to think about it this way, that, aren't you tired of hearing stories about, oh, they're the market disruptor out there and they're doing this and they're doing that and they're having some success here and success there? Well, you really, truly, now is your time to be the market disruptor. And I had shown this chart here last month, but I just wanted to do it again because I want to just paint the picture. Of some of you are the picture folks, picture types, to get a handle of what this looks like. Again, on the right side, that's you. You as the broker, your agency, you're the expert in what you do, and that may just be what I have listed here. The plan designs, the support behind it through that relationship life cycle, the open enrollment, the education. You know your carriers, your networks better than anybody, right? You're the experts in that area. But you also have other needs. Actually, the employer has so many more other needs. And what you need to, in order for you to become that market disruptor, you've got to find a way where you can integrate and make those other solutions converge into your agency and really add them as assets. And these are maybe partners that you have, or you will end up gaining partnerships with, or maybe it's areas that you can actually build, and really adopt yourself and have control over, which is a great thing. And that's up to you. It's up to where your niche, ultimately is. But really think of yourself as you think about the compliance conversation. Really do think that you can be that market disruptor, because you are going to increase client retention. You are going to have the ability of creating new revenue streams with new prospects because of the breadth of what you are offering. So when is the appropriate time to begin the conversation on these kind of in totality, these business issues and embracing compliance? Well, it was 2 minutes ago. What are you still doing here? No, appropriate time is now, right? So if you take this information, what I hope you can gain from it is that it can enable you to have, I think, some wonderful prospecting opportunities. You won business just talking about benefits. What if you begin to embrace this discussion in a different way, I bet that real opportunities abound. Existing clients, clearly a great opportunity, but you may not have dug deep enough here yet. You might be sitting here going, Steve, if I bring up this particular issue or compliance item, I mean, they're going to go crazy, right? I mean, they probably should have been doing that 5 years ago, and they've been my client for 10 years, and I've never brought it up before. You can't stick your head in the sand. Take your existing clients and dig deeper. Start the discussion, off renewal. Don't do it on renewal. I think you guys know that. Do it during your annual review meeting, or certainly off the renewal side of things. But maybe begin by creeping into those conversations. Start developing compliance checklists. Maybe we provide, PrimePay here, we provide client educational webinars. So, maybe just kind of getting information out there. Maybe there's a new campaign, an email campaign that you could begin that could start dripping information on, alerts or upcoming topics to remember, things of that nature, where you can slowly start to have your clients digest this information. So there are certainly ways. The main point is your competitors are out there doing it. So the appropriate time is truly now. So I hope that you have, at least garnered some additional information here on maybe how to have some of this discussion by looking at these 2 case studies. And the main goal is to think about how your agency, with each of these discussions, what will your agency need to adopt or adapt to ensure that these business issues get taken care of for a client? One of the ways that you could at least get some ideas to that is to actually call our Broker Concierge Partner Program. This program was built specifically for you. We've been inspiring brokers, hopefully for a long time here now. And part of the Broker Concierge Program is to equip your agency with many of these solutions, okay? And to do so in a non-competitive way, but to really add additional assets to your agency so that you can provide these solutions. So please check us out if you'd like more information. We thank you so much for attending. In our follow-up email to you, we will be sending out to everyone the link to the recording. As I said before, you can actually go to our YouTube channel, Broker Concierge, and subscribe to that feed. And as soon as that's posted, you'll get an announcement, a notice for that. So that's another way to see that as well. You can also look at and view some of our recent 315 recordings, which I think you'll find very valuable. Chad Granger, our regional advisor of our North region, recently posted one on compliance, and that'll be a nice one for you to review. For our Broker Concierge partners, we will also be providing a copy of the presentation slide deck, and that will be posted into the Broker Concierge portal. And here probably in the next day or two. Okay, so that'll be posted here momentarily. So with that will conclude our webinar. Our next webinar will show up next month, as we often do. So look for the invite here coming soon with that topic. Have a great day, and appreciate your attendance, and also appreciate your feedback. And let's make 2018 the year of the broker. Have a good day.